Welcome to the Rock is George podcast. I'm your host, George Dionne. Be sure to check out my new and improved website, rockisgeorge.com, where you can find all our social media and streaming platforms, as well as podcast episodes, knac.com exclusives, album and show reviews, and much, much more. My guests for episode 228 are frontman JASON DEA WEST and bassist AMIE ASTELLE of JASON DEA WEST and the SISKIYOU CREST. I know we do a lot of rock bands here on the Rock is George podcast, but this project caught my ear. I love its troubadour throwback. I love its Americana style. JASON DEA WEST and the SISKIYOU CREST have a new album out. It's their debut album, entitled 8 Miles from Rusk. It's currently out through Anti-CorpMusic. And here's Jason and Amy to tell you more about it. I just want to get some pronunciations out of the way. Is it JASON DEA WEST?
DEA WEST.
DEA WEST. And is it the SISKIYOU CREST?
SISKIYOU CREST. That's right.
SISKIYOU. The I silent.
Yeah.
I'll probably get the pronunciations I just asked you about wrong, but I'm going to, because I have it written down a certain way, but correct me where you want to. If I knew absolutely nothing about JASON DEA WEST and the SISKIYOU CREST, how would you describe the band's music to me?
We're the 21st century Rose Maddox brothers, the Maddox brothers and Rose. We're kind of a punk rock,
honky tonk, folk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're both punk kids who started playing folk and country music sometime in our early 20s. And we do kind of play well, I wouldn't say traditional folk music, but we very much play folk and country music, but we still kind of incorporate sort of a punk element and attitude.
Yeah, the speed and the rowdiness of it.
Can't escape it.
So, Jason, you've been billed as a solo artist for your last 4 albums since 2017. So how did the SISKIYOU CREST come about?
Well, yeah, I've been working solo for about 8 years. Basically, in a nutshell, what happened is in the very town we're in today doing this interview, Grants Pass, Oregon, last summer,
August,
Amy approached me outside of the show and just mentioned loosely that she had her stand-up bass in the car, should I want to have some accompaniment. And this had happened a few times. Amy had been coming to my shows. And
the first time I had my bass with me, though.
Yeah. So she had offered her services as a bass player, and I didn't really know. I'd been just so busy, hyper-focused on all the shows in my career to actually check her out. And what grabbed my attention one day is I saw a video of her online playing bass along to one of my tracks. Well, the very next day she was at my show with her bass, and I said, yeah, let's do it. So I invited her up into the green room where we worked out 5 or 6 songs. And instead of leaving back to California the next day, I said, why don't you hang out here in Southern Oregon with me and we'll keep working on this set. Well, a few days later, we were on Jefferson Public Radio in Ashland, Oregon. And it was just working really well. So I said, why don't we start a band? And we were here in the Siskiyou Mountains. So we called it JASON DEA WEST and the SISKIYOU CREST. That band name came to be when Amy started playing with me.
Amy, had you been in a band or a solo artist prior to hooking up with Jason?
Not a solo artist. I've been in a lot of bands. I was usually like a hired gun going on tour. I was in a band back home, but my singer moved to Indiana. So I was just kind of filling in whenever somebody needed a bass player for a while.
Awesome. So you guys released your debut album on April 25th, 8 Miles from Rusk through Anti-Corp. From what I understand, you guys went to Nashville along with fiddle player Mason Alexander and wrote most of this album or all of this album in the driveway of co-producer Dan Emery.
Well, actually, I had written most of the album prior to the session. Amy and I had worked out some of the arrangements here in Oregon, and Mason showed up on a limb just jumped on an airplane, showed up literally the next day where we rehearsed and kind of refined some of the arrangements. But a lot of the songs were written just outside of the town, Rusk, Wisconsin, which is close to where my family and ancestors own and operate 1,500 acres of cattle farm. So I had taken some time off in 2024 and spent a lot of time just working on the farm with my two old uncles. And that's how the concept of the album came to be. Um, but by the time Amy and I had met up uh, in August of 2024, all the songs were kind of there. We were just sort of working them out. The album was recorded with Dan Emery at Anti-Corp, predominantly live. So that when what you hear is us playing together in a room, which is not very different at all than what we sound like live. And that's kind of the goal for us. We want people to listen to our record and then come to the show and go, all right, it's true, you know?
And that kind of harkens back to the early sound that you're playing. They played it live in the studio, and that was the closest to what the band sounded like. From what I understand, you were able to do this in just one day.
Yeah, it was
Pretty
insane.
much. It was what, 9 tracks in 8 hours or something?
Yeah, we did 9 tracks in less than 10 hours. And we kind of have a rule in this band that we really don't do more than 3 takes. We figure if you can't get it in 3 takes, then maybe you're not supposed to be recording that song. And in my earlier works, you know, we'd stack tracks and do big arrangements, big production pieces. But for the last several years, I've been recording everything live with the players. And now we have a tight band. So it's a lot easier just to go in there and play the song that we've been playing on tour or on stage. It feels honest.
From what I understand, early on in the writing process, Amy, Jason put you to work on the farm.
Well, you were working on Nikki's farm.
Yeah, and not really working.
Farm.
More fun than anything. Getting to
Yeah.
hang out with horses and play music.
I had to keep going to work.
Yeah, he kept going to work.
They had to
I got
ride horses and get
Yeah.
yelled at by our friend Nikki.
I got to enjoy my time.
So, Jason, when it comes to the lyrical content of this album, seems a bit autobiographical, or maybe it's just your observations of people from town to town where you see them. Which is it?
Well, it's a combination of both. I've always sort of told people I write what I live and I live what I write. There's not really a persona, I'd like to think. I guess what is folk music? Folk music is just a reflection of our lives, and that's true all around the world. There's folk music is the song of the people, whatever people that might be, whatever geographical location that is. So it was autobiographical. A lot of the songs are very personal, as you probably noticed. I'm singing directly about my life. Some of them are a little more objective, like Captain California, or Rainfall Down, which has kind of become one of her hits. It seems to be getting a lot of circulation, and it's simply about a Midwest thunderstorm. I wrote it driving from Wyoming to Wisconsin all in one day, doing the 15-hour drive, you know, and just watching that storm roll over the prairie. And I was like, there's a song in that. It's really just that simple, but it seemed to really catch with people. It's a song about a thunderstorm moving across the Midwest landscape and the old barns enduring it. And it's funny what catches with people. What not always the song you would expect to really reach people in a broad way. Sometimes is the banger, as they say.
Well, I like Hannah. Hannah's a good song. I don't know if that's based on a real person or not.
Yeah, Hannah's a friend of ours. We'll be playing with her next week in Bend. She'll be getting up and singing with us on stage at the Domino Room. And Hannah is a friend of mine from the Midwest, and I wrote that song after she brought me to her family farm in Spring Valley and brought me on a horseback ride. That was enough to spark a song in me.
And another one of the songs that you have as a promotional video is Dakota Claire. Is this another person in your real life?
So Dakota Claire is sort of a combination of people I've known. It's sort of a fictional character that I've drawn different characteristics from people I've known along the way. But yeah, it was predominantly influenced more so by one person, but I'm not allowed to. That's a classified tidbit there. But thank you for asking.
Amy, were there particular songs that you had a good hand in songwriting?
No, Jason wrote all the songs.
Okay.
Like, yeah. I helped with like some like little composure of the songs, but Jason already had everything written and was already playing them. I just came in and made the bass work and helped with some small little parts of them.
And it sounds great. And I got to say, the bass is definitely prominent. I put it in on my Bluetooth speaker, and I'm like, man, that bass, boom, 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 perfect.
Yeah, that's super prominent, but also Dan Emery, who recorded it, also plays bass and he likes everything to be bass heavy. The first like mixes of it, the bass was so heavy that I couldn't even listen to it in my car. I turned the bass all the way down, the treble all the way up, and it was still shaking the windows. Like it was so heavy. But I like how bass forward it is. Especially since we don't have a drummer. It really adds a lot to it.
I did have to turn down the bass on
Yeah.
8 Miles from Rusk.
Oh yeah, that one thumps.
Yeah, now that I've played with Amy, it's just like no other bassist makes the cut. It's not only her style, but her gear. Amy is invested in her sound. It's a signature sound. I can listen to other folks who have recorded with Amy, and I know exactly who's playing that bass. So it's a stylistic thing. Um, so it's very identifiable. So all my friends who want to steal my bass player, you be careful because when you get Amy, nothing else will do after that. It's a blessing and a curse.
Well, Jason, why don't you tell me about the single and the album's title track, 8 Miles from Rusk? I don't know where Rusk is, so it must be close to you.
Well, Rusk is a place that barely exists on the map. It's literally just a sort of a township. It's a grain bin by a railroad track outside of Colfax in Menominee, Wisconsin, where I grew up until I was about 17. I wrote the song all in one go in the spring of 2024, clearing brush along a fence for my Uncle David, and also just helping him in the granary and things like that. It's simply about the idea of me inheriting the family land and trying to steward that land, a farm that's been in our family since 1909, and kind of the overwhelm of the idea of one person trying to maintain and navigate 1,500 acres of farmland after being a touring musician for 20 years. But I feel a great ancestral responsibility to be involved in that farm. The whole band's going to be on that farm here in just a couple months, and we'll probably be out there working with my uncle, driving tractor between shows and trying to help out where we can. Um, it's a legacy, the song is. I hope that a lot of folks who have been in a similar situation where they're looking at getting involved or inheriting their family land, it feels like a big, serious thing to take on. And I think I had to write that song just to process what could potentially be happening in my life in the next few years. A lot of these Midwest farms that are massive chunks of land were once owned and operated by families who maybe had 9 kids or something like that. That was a traditional thing in the upper Midwest. And those 9 kids were your farmhands. And what's happening is a lot of those folks have moved on or died off, and the old farms are still there. But it's a lot of work for one person. So you got to start thinking about it differently. Well, maybe instead of doing a bunch of crop rotation, we're going to graze cattle or get all of our musician friends involved, helping out, subject them to working on the family land, which you might be willing.
I'm down. Well, it's like on Family Farm, there's that clip of your grandma. She's like, called dinner and 18 kids came in.
So no brothers and sisters for you, Jason?
Oh, I got brothers and sisters, but they got lives of their own.
Okay.
My sister, Nora O'Day, who a lot of folks who may watch this interview will recognize just by her name. She played in bands with me and rode the rails with me all over the country. She's a musician and a songwriter, was on tour for many, many years, but ended up becoming a seamstress and lives close to Rusk in Menominee, Wisconsin. And she is very much interested in preserving and maintaining that family farm along with me. It's hard to escape the tour lifestyle, but we got a little vision for it. Some of my other brothers are welders and things like that, and have some interest in being involved, I think. But many of them own their own properties and stuff like that already. So
All right.
I got to ask, where are you at?
I'm in Massachusetts. We got cranberry bogs. That's the big farming around here. We don't have I mean, there are farm towns around me. I'm in Plymouth, Massachusetts. There are farm towns like Rochester, but I would say if there's more, it's probably out west.
Yeah. Yeah, we want to do an East Coast tour
Yeah.
at some point. Go up in New England, Vermont, upstate New York. We'll have to let you know if we swing through.
Absolutely. I mean, you're currently on a West Coast tour, the 8 Miles from Rusk tour. How's it been going so far?
It's been
Been
good.
really good.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun.
Been
You're
getting
playing-
good rhythms, big turnouts,
Yeah.
a lot of contrast between shows. We've recently opened for Sierra Farrell. I think it was, how many people were in that room?
I think the final count was almost 3,000.
So
Nice.
that was,
Yeah.
and then the next night we're all driving up the California coast, windy roads. We played Reno. What was it? The night before last, we played a little bar in Callahan, California. Just played on the floor with all the locals, and that was actually one of my personal favorite shows because those mountain folks just really threw down. That building
Yeah, they have fun there.
was about to collapse.
Oh yeah.
I feel like you'd really love New Hampshire and Vermont up here in New England. They definitely still have those small town vibes, but I suppose Cape Cod down here in Massachusetts has those small town vibes as well.
Yeah, we like mountain towns. You know,
Yeah.
they relate to the narrative of our
People
music a
actually
lot.
come out to see music. You can go play like in big cities and you have people sitting at the bar not paying attention. They just went out because it's something to do. Small towns, they go out because they want to be entertained. They love going out and dancing because it's rare that they get something like that. So when they have the chance, they tear it up, which is really awesome.
And you guys are leaving no venue unturned. I've seen you playing in clubs. I've seen you playing at a country store. Tonight you're at a farmer's market. I think
Yeah,
that is
everywhere.
that is one of the most unique tour schedules I've seen.
Yeah, we like to. Well, we find that everywhere we go, people need and love music. It doesn't matter what the local culture is. I mean, all that kind of cultural division and political, religious stuff, that all kind of goes out the window at our shows. You'll see punk rockers stomping on the floor with ranchers, and this type of music tends to really bring people together. And
Wrestling barriers.
yeah, I think folk music has always sort of had that effect. I think Woody Guthrie was tuning into that in the 1930s. So we're just sort of perpetuating that same ideology that none of that shit really matters. Let's have a good time, and we're all here together to escape our daily lives.
It's that 90 minutes that you could forget about all the stress in your life.
Exactly.
Right.
Whatever
That's
happens
exactly-
after is not our problem.
That's exactly our set right now. We're about 5 minutes shy, so it's 85 minutes.
Yeah.
Fair enough. You got opening acts though, so we're good.
Yeah, we got opening acts.
So the West tour ends around May 19th. Are you planning where to go after that?
Yeah, actually, this week we're announcing a big Midwest tour, and we'll be in Iowa, South Dakota, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Indiana.
Tennessee.
And then in November, we're doing well, I don't know if the cat's out of the bag
I
yet.
don't think it is.
Okay. We'll be in places like Texas with
Colorado.
certain important artists who may or may not be on Anti-Corp records as well.
I'll look at the roster and try to figure it out.
Yeah, nice.
So you've been with Anti-Corp as a solo artist since 2017. How did you end up originally signing with them?
I've been with Anti-Corp actually since 2020, and it came to be, not sure where that tidbit came from, but we'll correct it right here. That came to be with the Magnolia Sessions, which was a project Dan Emery was doing with the label that was sort of a field recording type of live in the backyard um, series that he was doing. And after that, Dan had offered me to work on distribution and things like that, merchandise distribution. And of course, I said yes. I've also known Dan since I was a young punk kid, possibly before he started the label. I've known Dan's like many of the people in Nashville um, from the old punk rock world before MySpace came to be. So when he started the label, it was just kind of a no-brainer. Excuse that. Let me get that out of here.
That was my phone.
So then, yeah, after the Anti-Corp thing, uh, with the distribution and the Magnolia session, it was going really well. So Dan and I made another record in 2023, the Lone Wolf record, and I thought this is working. Let's bring the whole band here.
Yeah. It's a real fun studio too.
And he's just an extremely helpful guy. I can call him pretty much any hour of the day if I have a question about the music business or the industry, and he always has the answer.
Amy, you said the studio's fun. What's fun about it?
Oh, it just feels like home. It's not like most studios you go into, it just feel stuffy. And it's like you're going to work, working with Dan. It's like you're just hanging out with friends, having fun.
Kind of like hanging in the living room rather than in like a soundproof box.
Yeah, it's just like having a big jam session, but you're recording.
Perfect.
Yeah, skateboard ramps outside.
Yeah. His kids running down making fun of us, which is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, you feel like you're hanging out with family.
Dogs in the room, you know.
Perfect. 8 Miles from Rusk is out digitally. I believe you got some CDs and even a vinyl on the way. It's going to be a traditional black vinyl. You're going to do something funky with it.
Well, we're a budget type of band at the moment, so it'll probably be a black vinyl, but we may have Dan Emery etch certain ones, kind
Yeah.
of like a limited edition. Hoping to have that available for the Muddy Roots Music Festival in Cookeville in what is that, September?
September.
Okay. You got the perfect album cover for a vinyl. You got a lot going on in this album cover. The artist is VANESSA Jo Barr. How did you get hooked up with her?
Well, I've been working with VANESSA for many years. She is local to the Siskiyou Mountains. She lives in a little town called Ashland, Oregon, which is about 40 miles from where we sit today. And yeah, I just asked her to I commissioned her to do something back in probably 2018. And as you've seen, the artwork is very profound and powerful. So
Yeah, it's real
it's
good.
kind of like after working with Amy, once you've been spoiled like that, you can't go back the other direction. So I just keep getting her whenever I can. And she's been very much part of my team and the ascent of my career. Branding is a really important thing. Imagery is a really important thing. And her style of art just works really well with our style of music.
She carved the album cover out of wood first and then turned it into a print, is what I was reading.
Yeah, she first she draws it, then she, from my understanding, stamps it into a block. Then she carves it in ink, then prints it, and then we do a high res scan of that print. So we're actually selling limited edition prints
Yeah, they're
on the
all
road.
hand printed.
Does she also do your tour posters? Because those are quite eye-catching, kind of setting up that brand that you're talking about.
That's actually our friend Jenna Marks down in Reno, who's part of the band The Old 395, who's currently on tour with us, opening a lot of shows. So Jenna and VANESSA, kind of my main gals as far as the graphic design, and they also work together a little bit. So sometimes VANESSA will provide things, and then Jenna will kind of refine or tweak them a little bit. But yeah, Jenna I've been working with for, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years now.
Awesome. I've noticed that Jason, you've done a couple of singles with Darien Lane. She's also opened up for you. You've opened up for her. How did that relationship begin?
I've never opened for Darien, but she's definitely opened for us several times.
Opening it for us tonight.
Yeah, she's opening our show tonight at the market. I met Darien because she knew my son here in Southern Oregon. My son went to kind of a grassroots style wilderness camp school, and she was one of the teachers. So I met her at the local library here through my son, and we ended up hanging out at the creek, going for a swim when it was about 100 degrees. And I didn't even know she played music. I was playing some songs and she said, let me play you one, and heard a few of her songs and thought they were great. So we started doing some stuff together. We've put out, I guess, 2 singles now together. And yeah, she's kind of well on her way doing her own stuff now. Got a record coming out, I believe, within the next couple of months. Just a hell of a songwriter and a really great voice.
Amy, do you work on any other music projects, or is it just with Jason?
Just with Jason right now. And that's probably how it's gonna stay.
But you got off. You were on tour with Bar J Bar though.
Yeah, I did go on tour with Bar J Bar. We had a little break, and then Joey asked if I wanted to go on tour, and I was like, yeah, why not? Let's do it.
This lady's a legend. We play shows up and down the West Coast, and when we call out Amy's name to credit her on the bass, that audience is louder than any other time in the night. People know this woman everywhere.
Yeah.
Not too many upright bass players out there, so you might as well be the best, right?
Really not a whole bunch. If you go down to like LA, there's quite a few bass players, but they never leave the area. Most upright players don't really tour a whole bunch
Right.
because they don't want to carry around.
Do you play electric bass at all?
Nope, just upright.
Stick with the class.
She plays it the old style. What do you say about that? Like the slap?
Slap style.
So explain to me what exactly slap style is.
You like keep the rhythm, like if you're a drummer, so you slap the fingerboard, to keep tempo and rhythm while also hitting notes.
Okay.
How the old stuff was with Johnny Cash and Hank Williams. They didn't have a drummer, it was all the upright player.
Jason, when you were doing your solo thing, you had sort of the I don't know what they call it, but you had the kick drum on your back, the harmonica in the front, and your guitar in your hand. Is there a name for that kind of setup?
Dick Van Dyke, Mary Poppins. I don't know. I just always tried to create as much sound as I could for one person. And a lot of times I'd be using an old steel guitar, harmonica, kazoos, and a suitcase kick drum, sometimes a tambourine on the foot. As I've gotten a little older, I've kind of changed it up. Now I got Amy and Mason and Jack, so I can kind of lean on them a little bit. But I've done a few solo shows recently where I bring that whole routine back. And at 37, I'll tell you, I still got it. It's kind of like riding a bike. Both my feet are moving. It's a physical, it's a big time, it's an exercise, which is great because on tour, we're spending a lot of time in the car. We're driving 6 hours, 9 hours before shows, and to get up there every night and do that always just felt good. And it creates a wall of sound. I've had hundreds and hundreds of people have told me after shows, how'd you get all that sound? And I said, I'm not using any effects pedals or anything like that. I'm playing a 100-year-old guitar. I'm kicking a suitcase and blowing a harmonica, and that's it. There was a while there, my friends didn't want me opening their shows. I ain't going to say any names, but I've had quite a few of them say it. We don't need you opening because you wear out our crowd. You get them all hooting and hollering as the opening act. And by the time we get on, they're tired.
Well, I hope to see you out here on the East Coast one day. It sounds like you guys are quite the live show. And those are all the questions I have for you, Amy and Jason. The new album, 8 Miles from Rusk, is out now. The band is Jason Day West and the SISKIYOU CREST, and that's through Anti-Corp. And I want to thank you both for taking the time today to tell me more about it. I know you're busy and you have a gig in just a couple of hours.
We got pancakes on the table too.
Yeah.
So thanks for having us, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
Bigger than that, right?
Yeah, appreciate you.
Once again, I want to thank Jason Day West and AMIE ASTELLE of Jason Day West and the SISKIYOU CREST for coming on the Rock is George podcast. Be sure to check out their latest album, 8 Miles from Rusk, out now through Anti-CorpMusic. Head over to your favorite music streaming platform, take a listen to the album. If you like what you hear, buy a physical copy, support the artist. For all things Jason Day West and the SISKIYOU CREST, head over to their official website, jasondaywest.com. I also want to thank David Brenner of Earsplit PR and Anti-CorpMusic for making this interview possible. You've been great. I've been George Dionne. Discover your next favorite artist on the Rock is George podcast.